triangle is a really interesting pose. If I look around in class and say there's 10 people in class for argument's sake, as a broad number, everyone's doing it slightly differently. Triangle pose is a great pose to observe if you simply want to see anatomical variability at play. Everyone is doing something different, and on closer inspection, all they're doing is reflecting their anatomy, their limb lengths. So it's a really fascinating one for yoga teachers to teach and to just step back and just observe, just see what is happening. How triangle pose is taught most of the time is to have your feet a certain distance apart. So if my left foot is 12 o'clock, my right foot is like 3 o'clock for argument's sake. You raise your arms up, you reach forward for reasons I don't quite understand, and then you just do something really awkward like this, or from this angle, it looks like that. And although that might work with a really confident audience, with an advanced student base, I don't personally think it works for the general audience, and I don't think it works for the students that come to our studio. I think we should modify how we teach the pose to accommodate our students, rather than teach a pose in a very specific dogmatic way because a certain teacher in India taught it that way because he was accommodating his students. Adaptation is the key here, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just adapting how I teach for my audience. I think personally, most people need to have a block. Whether you have a block to the outside, which is Iyengar style, or inside is up to you, but I will show you the other version in a moment. Most people go in with straight legs. They go into the pose. Now, I won't bore you with the biomechanics as to why I don't like that, because I can go on. I prefer people bend their front knee and go into the pose. So you want to be in a position here, which is your base, and feel like you're not stretching anything. What most people do is by the time they've reached their base, they're already stretching and their body's already resisting. So relax, there we go. I'm still relaxed, I'm still breathing in and out of the nose, there's not much happening here. And what I want to do is I want to feel like my shoulder is turning away rather than dropping down. And I do that by focusing on rotating my ribs there. Now, I want to engage my tricep. I do that by pushing into the block. And look at the difference it makes. So look at this, where gravity is just coming down and I'm starting to side bend, and I push into the block. It engages my arm, and then what it does is it feels like my spine is doing this. It's getting longer as opposed to this, where it just kind of rounds. So there. You can reach up, or I'm going to keep my hand on my hip for now, and then you straighten your front leg, maintaining that straight spine, as opposed to straightening the leg and rounding. So as I straighten the front leg, I push my hand into the block there. And you can look up or look down or look at the camera. I mean, it doesn't matter really. My back hip is neither in or out. It's doing whatever it's designed to do instinctively. If you have a hip which is designed to roll out more, it will roll out more. If your hip is different, it will fall in. I don't cue the hip because everyone is different. And if I ask people to turn the hip out and then go down, the knee rolls inwards and it just starts to look horrible. For me, in my teaching experience, leave the hips alone, focus on this. So how do I set that up? I ask students to take a big step back with their right foot. They're holding onto their block. If their left foot is 12 o'clock, the back foot for me is 2 o'clock. That's what feels better for me, and I will encourage students to find what works for them. It could be 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. I mean, it doesn't matter. What matters more, as you know from watching the previous videos on Warrior 1 and 2, is that you're using your feet, that your feet are alive. So you just close your eyes and feel like your feet are firing messages to your brain. Your brain interprets that, fires messages back and gets all the intricate muscles around your foot and ankle to work just there. I really engage my back leg as opposed to this, and I do that by pushing the back heel into the ground. That's my first step. I then place the block, doesn't matter where, wherever's comfortable. I tend to have the block so when I drop my arm, it's straight. I then push into the block as I straighten my leg there, and my head is going that way. And I actually feel the space here between my hip and ribs. Sometimes I place my hand on my hip and I push my hip this way and I feel my spine going that way. There. I feel like my spine is in traction. It's such a nice feeling there, as opposed to this. Okay? It's more kind of there, out, there. And what a lot of people do is they get really elaborate with the shoulder. They don't need to be. The movement, rotation occurs at your ribs. It doesn't matter what your shoulder does. It doesn't influence the upper body. There we go. As I inhale, I do a little less. You might bend your knee to make life easier, to bring oxygen into the body. As you breathe out, all 5 toes of both feet down. And can you see I'm getting longer as opposed to compressed, longer. And my favorite version is the extended, more Iyengar style, where the block is on the outside. Again, all 5 toes need to be active here, otherwise it can feel a little bit uncomfortable on your knee. I push in there. You see how I straighten my arm? I'm not hanging, I'm pushing the block into the ground there. So really pushing in. And if I show you from this angle, there, this, as opposed to, this isn't wrong. I'd like you to feel like you're turning away there, there. And when you do the other version, I'd like to have my, there, see how my chin goes into the shoulder as opposed to this. So I push into the block, there we go. My shoulders kind of stack up. If you think I can help you any more with your poses, then feel free to check out our website, akramyoga.co.uk. You can check out our online CPDs or our yoga teacher training.